Howdy folks, I'm Drad Dumb Skipper, dutifully dancing to deep drums.
I'm Amber.
And here are more deep drums for us to dance to. We're just kind of doing this like the, the old Flintstones way. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for calling a date a recreational use wallet when he told me that women with large numbers of intimate partners are for recreational use only? So I'm a 22-year-old female and I had a date with a man, a 22-year-old male, in a restaurant yesterday. We were talking about basic stuff like hobbies, goals, etc. After the dinner finished, he offered to pay for both of us. I was thankful for that. Our date then continued in the park where we talked about relationships. Suddenly, I started to notice that he talks about women in a negative way, very similar to Andrew Tate rhetoric. Then the topic of body count came into the discussion. Shortly afterwards, he asked me for mine, 2, and then I asked for his, 7. I was told by him that it was good for a woman to have a low number of intimate partners because women who have too much intimacy are for recreational use only. I was very angry when he said that, so I told him something like, "Thanks for the dinner, it's good to have a recreational use wallet for dinner," and left. He didn't say anything, but later he did send me a message calling me a B for using him like that. Am I the jerk for calling him that? Edit, to everyone calling it a preference for lower body count. He didn't have a preference, he straight up dehumanized these women, yet has zero problem sleeping with them. Edit 2, I don't think that using someone for food is good, and I also don't support using someone for being intimacy. Alright folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, I think OP was just kind of pointing out the hypocrisy there, essentially. He showed that he's a garbage person.
Yeah.
And so, it wasn't like she intentionally went out just to get money out of him.
Yeah.
He offered to pay for the date, and at that time she thought he was a reasonable person, but then he showed that he had some really despicable views.
Yeah. Well, I think what OP was trying to get across is that men with high body counts are for recreational wallets only or something like that. I think that's kind of where they were going with that ideology.
Or men with bad ideology or
men,
recreational use wallets.
Yeah. And I mean, I think OP was just trying to push it back on him to show him how hurtful those kinds of things could be, right? Yeah. And I don't think that OP was going out of their way to use him for a free date or anything like that. Now, if OP went on this date with the full intention of using him for money, that would be wrong, right? But OP says that that's not what they're interested in anyways, right?
Right. And so I think people who are like, oh, well, it's bad use for me, people for money are missing the point. OP learned after they had already had dinner that he was not the kind of person she wanted to be with.
Yeah.
And you are not beholden to someone just because they buy you dinner.
Well, and I think that OP was probably mad in the moment, right?
Oh, yeah.
He said some things that were really hurtful. He dehumanized women just because they slept with more people.
While he's perfectly happy to sleep with them himself.
So it's hypocrisy at its, worst here, because he thinks that he's justified with sleeping with multiple partners, but any woman who matches his body count is, not a good partner, right?
Right. It's a really, really gross, really misogynistic line of thinking, and so I don't blame Opie for wanting out after that.
Yeah. I think, again, like, these kinds of things, these kind of ideologies are, at their core, hypocritical because they treat, men and women fundamentally different. And the thing is that at the end of the day, if you look between 2 men and 2 women, they're going to have more similarities than differences, right? I mean, consider, how similar people are from person to person, right? Like, I think it's just very short-sighted to say that somebody has value or no value based off of the number of, partners that they've had.
Right. Well, I mean, I say this jokingly, but I think the only body count you should be worried about is if those bodies are going in the backyard.
Yeah, or your basement, or somewhere like that, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Max the Catagator says, it's not him doing the dehumanizing and sexualization. It's the women themselves who do it by being intimate. Calling it what it is just that. You're the jerk for using him as a wallet. You're part of the problem in today's messed up world. And OP replies, woman equals bad, men equals good. Women treating men like a wallet, bad. Men treating women like a pump and dump, good. I mean, I think that this person has some very short-sighted views.
Yes, I think they need to unlearn this misogyny, because why is it okay for men to be intimate but not women?
Yeah, I mean, I would at least be more understanding of their view if they viewed both men and women equally in that respect. I wouldn't agree with it, right? But at least I wouldn't say it's hypocrisy, right? For them to say, well, it's not him dehumanizing them. It is.
He is
He's
dehumanizing
literally
them.
saying, treating these women like they're not human. They're not worth his time.
Mm-hmm.
They're only worth his sexual gratification if they've had multiple partners, right?
Right, and like, there's nothing inherent about intimacy that makes someone dirty or worse or lesser than.
Yeah.
And the whole idea that men gain status whereas women lose status, like, that's just so gross and it makes no sense.
Yeah. And the thing is this, everyone's going to have their own personal preferences and philosophies on intimacy, right? There are some people who, believe that they shouldn't be intimate until they get married, right? And that's perfectly fine as long as it's across the board, applies to everyone there, right? Like, if you have those beliefs and you have those sincere beliefs, that's fine, but don't hold other people to different standards than yourself, right? So I just think it's a really short-sighted and hypocritical when people do that.
Well, and also, even if you want a partner who shares the same value as you, don't denigrate people who aren't part of your belief system.
I agree too. It's just that all I was saying is, like, it's fine to find somebody who shares that value as you. So I just think that it's just a really sad philosophy for people to denigrate other people like this. And Agile Scientist 8926 says, not the jerk, just an observation and not judging or accusing OP of it. But why does it always seem like the man in these stories is always the bad guy after he paid for dinner? Why couldn't he just have been the jerk before the dinner bill was put on the table? One thing that I'm curious about is if OP did offer to pay for the whole bill, or at least a portion of it. She did say that he paid for it and appreciated it, but didn't say anything about if she tried to pay. It's not really important, I'm just curious. Also, if you make a point of saying that using someone for food is okay, then why choose to say something about his wallet? Why not just say that he's a jerk? And OP replies, because the bill came first. He was not a jerk when we had dinner. I offered to pay 50-50, but he insisted on paying. I was thankful. I think that it's common for guys to be judged more based on money. So food is equal to money, which is equal to the wallet. It was mainly to let him think about what he said. It wasn't intended before his comment.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think this person is getting on the wrong things. Like, it doesn't matter who paid for dinner. That what matters is that he showed that he's a despicable person, and OP didn't want to deal with him anymore.
Yeah.
And you are allowed to nope out of a date, at any point in time. You are not beholden to someone just because they paid for you.
And Ariel Bubble says, not the jerk, and I applaud you for being so witty in that situation. And Miley X Moran says, not the jerk. I'm not too sure who even gets into those kinds of topics of conversation like that on a date. Your response was really good. I know that he's never heard that before or even expected you to say it. He definitely did you a favor by revealing how dumb he was early on.
Well, the problem with people with that kind of mindset is he probably saw it as like a compliment toward OPA, like, oh, you're not like those other women. And it's like, that's not a compliment. It's disgusting that you view people like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you nailed it on the head there, as this was probably viewed as a compliment for him. He thought that saying that OP was good for being a low body count woman was like a good thing, right? All right, folks, on our next letter is titled, My Ex and I Broke Up, and his mom is asking me for a security deposit. 22-year-old female and 20-year-old male. My ex and I broke up about a month ago. We were together for 3 years and had a lease together. My mother is the co-signer. For the past month, I was there every day, moving and cleaning. He left for Hawaii 8 days ago and did not help to clean. He only packed up his things. Total, me and my mother cleaned for 10 hours. Since I was moving into a new apartment and my ex broke up with me and left me with all the cleaning, he texted me that I could have whatever security deposit was left. Yesterday, when the lease ended, he asked for $750 and that I would receive $1,000. I was so upset, I said no. I did all the cleaning, and asking for that portion of the lease after it's ended is quite unfair. I told him that he said that I could have all the money. His mother texted me, threatening that if I don't pay him $500 out of the $1,750, we will get out, and that she will charge me for all the days that I spent the night over there. I lived an hour away with my own lease without a car. He lived with his mom, so I didn't really have any other option. I was also invited by his mother, as well as charging me for her son driving her car and taking me to places occasionally. Honestly, do not know what to do. Do I take the loss? I was there for 20 hours total with my mom cleaning, and skipped work to clean. I don't really care about the money. It's more about the lesson where you don't leave someone you love to do all the work and expect the money in return. I also asked him to clean 3 times and texted his mother that he didn't even clean. So I did give him a heads up. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. And I don't think you have to worry here because you can't retroactively charge someone for something. Like, you can't decide all of a sudden, oh, well, since you're not giving him this money, I'm going to charge you for all the times you stayed over at my house. That's not how things work.
Yeah.
If she were to try to bring that into a court of law, they would laugh her out of there because there's no contract. There's not even a verbal contract, And so, if she tries to say that, I mean, I think everyone's going to look at her sideways because that's not generally how those things work.
Yeah. All I can say is, OP, print your text messages where he said that you could have the deposit. Make sure to save those and print them. Then put together any other documentation that you need, cleaning supplies, amount of time you spent cleaning, and all this other kind of stuff. That way, if it ever comes to court, you'll have a document, you'll have everything all together, and you can just show the judge. The judge will look at it, the judge will see all the evidence, and then say, no, you don't owe anyone a dime. Because I'm pretty sure this is a pretty cut and dry case. Contract law, verbal contracts like this are still contracts, right? As long as you live in a jurisdiction where that's the case, right? But in the U.S., I believe generally verbal contracts are as enforceable as other contracts. So I don't think that OP is wrong here. OP doesn't owe her any money, and like Amber said, she'll be laughed out of the court if she tries to charge OP for back rent. Give me a break. Give me a break. No, OP doesn't owe her anything. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Negative Trajectory says, lol, she could have been your mother-in-law. You. And OP replies, he planned our engagement for this August. Ah, well, bullet dodged.
Yeah.
Kraken for never 3 fortune. I don't know. Did your ex text you that? Did she know that she and her son didn't even bother to show up for cleaning? Do they understand the concept of a security deposit and that they don't use it to cover expenses like flying to Hawaii? Because at this point, don't block their numbers or anything, but treat each call and text like a new phone number. Who's this? And as for the phone call, have someone else answer it. And OP replies, hello, yes, we are in a group chat, and he did message me that 2 times now. She's very aware that her son did not clean. His mom paid for the flight, and they are quite wealthy. Money isn't a problem for them. It's more about power and control. If they have that kind of money, then their threats are empty threats, and they're just trying to pressure you into giving them this money.
Yeah, it sounds like a scare tactic.
And Raxaphrasis says, send her a bill for all the babysitting that you did for her giant man-child son. Charge her $20 an hour for all the time that you were together. And OP replies, so funny, I did say there when he broke his shoulder and was a personal caregiver. I also did a lot of cleaning and dog walking. So funny, right? We could play that game all day. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to pay for my boyfriend's bro night after he put me on the spot? Update, we officially just broke up. So I'm a 24-year-old female and I've been dating my boyfriend, a 26-year-old male, for about a year. He's super into his weekly bro nights with his friends, which I totally support. I usually just chill at home, do my own thing, it's no problem. Well, this past Friday, we were out grabbing drinks when his friends called asking him to come over for poker and drinks. He said sure, and then right in front of them, turned to me and went, babe, you got this, right? Meaning the bill. I was caught off guard, but I figured whatever, I'll cover the dinner. But then he added, and can you send me some cash for drinks? I'm kind of low on cash. At this point, his friends were laughing and hyping him up like, yeah, take care of your man. I felt super awkward, but I just said, nope, I think you've got it. He got quiet, paid for his half, and then left. Later, he texted me saying that I embarrassed him in front of his friends and that I made him look like he doesn't wear the pants in the relationship. I told him that I'm happy to treat him sometimes, but I don't like being put on the spot, especially when it's for him to go out without me. Now he's sulking, and his friends are apparently joking about how he lost his sponsor. Am I the jerk for standing my ground? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. And if he thinks he wears the pants, shouldn't those pants come with some pockets for his money?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of a jokey, but the thing is, it seems like he's just using OP for her money, and doing this in front of his friends to try and pressure her is not okay. Like, this is manipulation, and the way having them all gang up on her and being like, "Take care of your man," and then their whole comments about how he lost his sponsor show what she is to him. She's just a wallet.
Yeah. How do you feel like this story and the first story are similar or unalike?
I don't see a lot of similarities.
Well, because like the whole wallet idea, right? Because he, OP called him a wallet, for instance, right? And so the idea is that like you shouldn't use someone use them as a wallet, right? Like, and here the boyfriend is using her as a wallet, right? And so I think like it kind of swings both ways there. Like, you shouldn't use men for their money, but you also shouldn't use women as wallets too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I really don't like, I think that people, of course, need to find the relationships that work best for them. But I really don't like this insidious notion I see it so often on Reddit where, guys expect a traditional relationship in the sense that the woman does like all the work for them, but they also expect her to be like paying the bills. And it's like, if you're in that situation, run for the hills. Like, what are you getting out of this?
Well, I don't think that's traditional at that point in time. I just think that's laziness,
Well,
right?
yeah.
Like, somebody who wants to be taken care of, they're not looking for like a relationship. They're looking for a parent.
I think that was a good point. Like, it's not traditional.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
And it isn't, but they're like trying to spin it as, oh, this is a traditional relationship. And it's like, no, if you're saying you want a traditional relationship, like, you should be footing the bill.
Yeah, yeah. So, and not that I think that you should have a traditional or not have a traditional relationship. I think that those, of course, are personal decisions, but
yeah.
I don't really feel like what they're presenting here is a traditional relationship. It just feels more like they just want to use somebody for...
It does. Well, and that's the problem is like so often in these situations, it just feels like usually the female partner is being used in one way or another.
Yeah.
And it's just there as like convenience, a wallet or something else.
Yeah. And, again, there isn't anything wrong because there's a lot of relationships where people will spend time at home, right? Or they'll be at home and someone will take care of them. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I just want to kind of stress that I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But as long as everyone in the situation is being treated fairly, like, oh, I'm doing chores, I'm doing all these other things around the house or
I think
whatnot.
it's the manipulation that bothers me the most about this situation. Like, I understand if your partner is low on cash, being able to spot them some money.
Of course.
And if he had just privately been like, to put his phone on mute and been like, hey, OP, any chance you could cover this?
Yeah.
I would feel completely different about the situation. But the way he did it in front of his friends, specifically to get them to kind of gang up on OP,
yeah,
that's where it feels really gross.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels more like he wanted to show his friends that he could get money out of OP anytime he wanted.
Right.
As opposed to having respect for OP and being like, treating them as as an actual person and not just like a wallet. So
yeah, and so like, because everyone is in a different situation. Some people are going to need more financial help than others, and it's not a bad thing to need financial help.
Yes.
But it is bad to treat your partner like they exist only as a wallet.
Exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab yourself a beverage of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What did the end table say to the broom?
Well, I think the end table said, it's the end as we know it. Oh, no.
Darling, you sweep me off my feet.
If the broom is sweeping the end table off its feet, then I don't know. I'm a little scared about this situation.
It's just meant to be silly because it's National No Housework Day.
National what?
No housework.
Oh, no housework. Folks, you heard it. National No Housework Day. You get to take a vacation from any housework that you wanted to do. Great news. I was going to anyways. No, I'm just kidding. Let all those dishes pile up.
Who needs dishes?
Yeah.
We can just eat off of
Dirty plates.
So gross.
And I have Mega Mint. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Manic Monday, folks. I hope your Monday is off to a great start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on money.
Don't use your partner as a wallet only.
Don't use your partner as a wallet only. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Use them as a purse.
No, treat them as a person.